All right, good evening, everyone. We're going to get started. It's a few minutes after 6 o'clock this evening. I want to welcome all of you to our monthly general meeting. We are using the Zoom system for the last several months since we've resumed having community meetings. We've been using Zoom because of the current pandemic. So I want to welcome all of you for joining us this evening for our November general meeting. We're going to call the meeting to order. We have a moment of silence. We'll accept our agenda. I'm going to read the rules of order. Do follow up from the last general meeting of October 29th. We have a couple presentations this evening. One is on the Neighborhood Watch program. We're joined by a representative of the Akwesasne Mohawk Police Services. We're doing a presentation on the fiber project. We have a representative from the Department of Untitled here. As well, we'll give an update on the COVID care packages, update on the Christmas dinners. We've received some questions prior to the general meeting, so we will go over those and take any other questions that we may have from the community in relation to any of the presentations that we have. We do have a resolution that will have to be read into the record, a few announcements, and then adjourn. So, if I could have a motion to accept the agenda as I've read, moved by Teresa, second by Carolyn. All those in favor? Thank you. So prior to the pandemic, we enacted a protocol for general meetings, which was the general meeting cancellation protocol that was enacted in response to community deaths that were happening in the district in which we were having general meetings. So as you know, general meetings would rotate in each district of the community. Because we are on the Zoom system, we're not using the protocol now, but part of the protocol is that we want to acknowledge all of the deaths and loss that has occurred since the last general meeting, and in respect of those that have passed and their families, we ask for a moment of silence. So at this time, I'm going to ask just that we observe a moment of silence for those members that we have lost. All right, thank you. And on behalf of myself and the Mohawk Council, we extend our deepest condolences to all those affected by grief, especially during this pandemic that we're dealing with. So the rules of order this evening are very similar to what we would normally have during any one of our in-person meetings. We ask that people please, that our meeting will begin at 6 p.m. We'll go approximately to 8 p.m. at which time, depending on where we're at during the agenda, we'll make a determination if we will reschedule or if we'll continue to go on past 8 p.m. Personal issues will not be dealt in this forum. This is a public forum. Tonight's meeting is being recorded and will be reshared with the community. So any items that are of a personal nature, we ask that you please reach out to myself or our office or one of the district chiefs to speak about that issue directly. We will not talk about personal matters in this forum because this is a public setting. We ask that you please raise your hand. So there is a raise hand option on the Zoom platform if you're familiar with it. If not, please make a hand gesture in the camera. If you're not on camera, please unmute yourself and then just let me know that you'd like to ask a question at that time. I ask that you please be respectful at all times during this meeting. As well, keep the questions related to the item that we're discussing. We do have a number of presentations, so questions need to be related to those items. Later on and during the agenda, we do have a question and answer. If there are, at that time, any questions that members want to ask, we will take it at that time as well. If there are any items that are follow-up, whether it be through the presentations or through the questions that may be raised in the community that we can't answer, we will take those back and report them back to you at the next general meeting. That is the follow-up items, the section on the agenda that says follow-up from the previous general meeting. So the meeting is being video recorded. We do stream them back onto our Facebook page as well on YouTube and other social media forums for members to watch later on. So we need you to all recognize that as well, because it is a public forum and is recorded. We ask that private matters not be discussed here, as I mentioned earlier. As well, we ask that any issue that may be raised that may be service related or related to an MCA employee, please do not identify the employee by name. It's not fair to them that they be identified by name. It's rather an employee or a position you can use, but we ask that you please don't identify persons by name. So that is our rules of order for this evening. All members of council are in attendance for this evening's meeting. So we will move forward with the follow-up items. I just want to say before we begin, we do know that it's been several months since the pandemic has started in our community. We have taken a number of actions within the organization as a community government to ensure that our community is safeguarded as much as possible from the spread of the COVID-19. We do know that we've seen a little spike in the last few weeks, which we can attribute to a number of factors, but we need to continue to remind the community that we know this is super challenging. It's not easy to practice all of the recommended safety precautions such as masking, social distancing, not having large gatherings. In fact, right now the directives or recommendations are that we remain in our own homes. Those are the folks that we should be interacting with, and that when we do interact with others, that they maintain the 6 feet and the mask needs to be worn. And that is for all of our safety. And I do know that this has been extremely difficult for all of us, especially going through now. Today is actually American Thanksgiving. We've gone through Canadian Thanksgiving. We're rolling into Christmas, and this is extremely challenging times. I want to acknowledge all of us, all of you, the community, and all of the MCA for doing our part to keep us safe. So when in the new year, hopefully at some point, we'll be able to resume in-person meetings when it is safe. Of course, we'll be doing that with all precautions and analysis when we do make that decision. But until then, we'll continue to use virtual platforms such as this and other means necessary. So the October 29th general meeting, we did not have any items that were follow-up at that point. So there are nothing to report. It is on the agenda, but it's just a standing order item for follow-up. So without further ado, we will move to our first presentation. We are joined by a representative, Mr. King from the Akwesasne Police Services, and Shannon Rompoint is our communications manager, will be assisting with the PowerPoint on the screen here that you have. We will make this material available later on. Unfortunately, we weren't able to get it on the website early enough, but we will put it on the website for those of you that want to see the material again, but it will be also, and this is recorded as well. So I'll ask Chief Connie Lazor to please introduce our first presenter, and we'll go from there.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight. So what we have here is our neighborhood watch. Last fall, in our district meetings in Jasnina, there was some growing concern with the criminal activity in the district, and we went into discussion on how we could look to address that as community members. So around the same time, Constable Norman King and I had brief discussions with regards to a neighborhood watch program, though we felt that neighborhood watch programs are designed in certain ways. Our discussions brought us around to talking about how we would engage the community in creating the neighborhood watch. So Norman had worked with staff from Mohawk government on creating a PowerPoint presentation that we had hoped to present last March. Well, COVID had different plans for us, so we never got to initiate this project, because really that's what it is. What Chief King is going to bring forward now is a presentation of an outline of a neighborhood watch. And what we're looking for is to see what the community members of Akwesasne would like to see in a neighborhood watch for Akwesasne. So this document is in no way a final document. It's merely an outline to develop a program. So we look forward to creating that program and that it be designed with input of the community and designed for the community. So at the end, I believe Constable King will answer any questions. And thank you.
Sego, and good evening, everyone. Just before I start, I want to hope everybody's remaining safe and healthy during this pandemic. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Norman King. I'm a police officer with the Akwesasne Mohawk Police Service, and I've been a police officer for 21 years now. About 2.5 of those years, I've been doing a lot of work in the community. I'm the community service officer, and it's like what Connie had mentioned. Late last year, we began developing the Neighborhood Watch program, and I'll just give you a little bit of background of what I did. I started researching this program, and I started reaching out to other First Nation police services. And when I reached out to different First Nation police services, I found out that other First Nation police services didn't have a program like this. There wasn't anything developed. So when I talked to different police services, they had requested, they said, when you develop your program, can you share your program with us? And I said, I would. So I started developing this outline for this Neighborhood Watch program. And I started reaching out to different police forces in the area. I start taking things that I feel that we needed in our community to develop our Neighborhood Watch program. And it's like what we had mentioned, that back in March of 2020, my goal was to present this to the community. But unfortunately, like we said, COVID-19 pandemic stopped us from doing that. So I'm very excited to present this to everyone. I think it's something that we need in our community right now, and I hope I get a lot of response back. So just to get started with this, if you just want to move to the next slide, please. So I guess the question is, what is a Neighborhood Watch program? A Neighborhood Watch program is aimed at reducing crime in the community, right? It involves a network of neighbors, right, that work together to deter crime in the neighborhood, right? There's a trained crime prevention officer, which will probably be myself. And the Neighborhood Watch program provides a means of reducing crime in the community. It's an additional eyes and ears for a safer community. And what I've gathered from talking to people and being in my position that I am, I talk to a lot of community members now, and I feel that very few people are in the position to protect their homes and property. All the time, we go on vacations, we go on business and shopping trips, even a night out, with friends and family, could put us vulnerable for these thieves to come in our property and take things. So that's where I decided to start this program, and with me being trained, I go out there and I do a lot of presentations for the elders, and a lot of these presentations I do sometimes involves home safety. And once we start this program and once we get this program developed, we can teach the community on how to make their homes safe and less inviting to criminals, right? It also teaches you how to be alert for suspicious activity in the community. And what I mean by that is, we tend to see a lot of people in our community now that we have no idea why they're here. So with this program and with me being trained, I can train the community to see that, and I think it's only going to benefit us. I added some stats in what we've been seeing here at the Mohawk Police. And in the last 2 months, you know, we had 3 people that were charged with break and enters. We have 2 that are currently being investigated. In the last couple of months, we had 3 motor vehicles that were 3 thefts involving motor vehicles. But what alarms me is the amount of suspicious individuals that we have here. People that are here for no valid reason. In July, the Mohawk Police dealt with 18 people that were not from our community. In August, we dealt with 11. And in September, we dealt with 12. You know, and these are only stops that officers are making. You know, so I'm sure the numbers are a lot higher than that. Can you move on to the next slide? So we're looking at what a neighborhood watch is. You know, it's a commitment to improve your home security, right? It's a commitment to be concerned about your neighbor's property as well as your own. And it's a commitment to report any crime that's occurring and any suspicious activity to police, and then to your neighbors, right? So what isn't a neighborhood watch, right? What don't we want you to do, right? And here are some things. We don't require the people that participate in the neighborhood watch program to go out and do special tasks. We don't expect you to go to a lot of meetings or take on any extra responsibilities. We don't want you to go out there and patrol or to chase down people. All we want is you to be alert and be our eyes and ears for us. And the neighborhood watch doesn't require you to know your neighbor's business. All we want to do is just be the eyes and ears, like I said. And some other positive things I could say is the neighborhood watch does provide additional security. It builds confidence. It builds confidence when you're calling and reporting things, because sometimes people say, well, you know what, it's only me that's calling the police. How come nobody else is calling the police, right? With a neighborhood watch program, all your neighbors are calling the police, right? So it's not just you. Some things, and I think the big part is education, right? Myself or one of our police officers will meet with you, and we have to decide when's it going to take place, but we give you these trainings. You know, we provide training for you on what to look out for. Some drawbacks on having the neighborhood watch program, I guess you can say there's a lot of effort that needs to be put into it before we start it. And it can be time consuming in the beginning. As we're creating this program, it can be time consuming. But like I said, in the end, I think it's very beneficial for our community. Next slide, please. So getting started. So when we get started with the neighborhood watch, and this is something I had planned to do in April. I plan to present it with Mohawk Council in March, and in April, I plan to canvass the community. I plan to attend different homes, probably as many homes as I possibly can, and distribute brochures, questionnaires, and see if there was interest. Once there was enough interest, we'd arrange for meetings to take place. And like I said, in our community, there would have to be probably at least three different meetings for each of our districts. And then when everybody agrees to these meetings, we would continue the neighborhood watch program. Next slide. So we get people together, we decide to have our first meeting, right? The police will supply all the maps outlining the neighborhoods, which boundaries. Will divide your area into blocks. And usually a block is probably 15 to 20 homes. And at that time, we're going to provide materials, resource materials to help you. The police liaison or myself will explain the neighborhood watch concept, home security, and the method of reporting incidents to the police service. And then we will also identify block captains and assistants for those blocks not having volunteers. Next slide. So now we're going to talk about the police liaison. I mean, this is a very important role in the neighborhood watch program. You know, they're the ones that are here to provide the expertise necessary for the program in order to monitor it. They develop program guidelines, establish target areas, and supply resources. I provide lecture briefings, home security, and other crime prevention programs to the neighborhood watch group. We establish training programs on how to identify and report criminal or suspicious activity. And we maintain communication with area leaders and block captains. Just to add to that, you know, some of the things I do now for our elders is I do a lot of home safety, right? And I talk about, and one of the big things I talk about with home safety, and like I said, once we start this program, you know, we'll have these discussions as well, is if you leave your house, leave the light on, right? If you decide to leave your house at night, leave the light on. And another thing, because we're coming up to the holiday seasons, right? We know people are buying expensive things, that people that can afford expensive Xboxes, PlayStations, you know, the newest TVs. One of the things that we ask is you cut up your boxes, right? Because thieves will drive around and they'll look. And if they see that PlayStation box sitting outside by your garbage can, they know you have a new PlayStation or Xbox, or, you know, one of those brand new 4K TVs in your house. So then, you know, you can become vulnerable to have somebody breaking in your house and taking those items. You know, and a big thing that I tell my elders is make sure you have deadbolt locks. Deadbolt locks are huge, and make sure that you use them. You know, when I do my home safety presentations, and that's one of the main things I address is deadbolt locks. You know, and there's other programs that we can teach you about, like there's another program out there where the police purchase an engraver, right? And we allow the community to start engraving their expensive their products with the engraving tool, right? And what I mean by that is, how many people out there record all their serial numbers off all their expensive items, right? I know I don't. So with this engraving tool, we ask the people involved, we say, engrave your driver's license number, right? So if police come across this item, say if we do a search warrant in a house and we come across these items, we come across a TV and we see these numbers engraved into the TV, and we know it's a driver's license number, we can run that driver's license number and it'll come back to the person that maybe reported it stolen. You know, for stuff that can't be engraved, like jewelry, you know, you start taking photographs of it. All this stuff we teach as part of this Neighborhood Watch program. Next slide, please. So as a part of the Neighborhood Watch program, we want to develop a steering committee, right? And this acts like a liaison between the community and the police. They supply the police with the information and types of housing, local groups or individuals that will assist, and other data necessary to accurately divide and community into areas, watches, and blocks. So we work closely with the police liaison in delegating tasks to groups of individuals to initiate area watch areas and maintain them and monitor their progress. We provide a central depot for information and resource material on the Neighborhood Watch program. We arrange meetings to which police representatives are invited to and to assist in explaining the program and profiling local crimes. And all this, and it's like I said, and this is where I'm going to probably require the community's help with developing these committees, you know, and developing these block captains and all these other things that we need here to start this program. Next slide, please. So in a neighborhood watch, there are people called block captains. Those people are responsible for holding meetings. They assist in welcoming new members. They encourage neighborhood participation, and they serve as a liaison between the watch members and the area leaders. They channel information from the police services, zone leaders, and steering committee to the citizens. And they attend neighborhood watch seminars, workshops from time to time. Those are what the block captains are. So once we initiate and once we have this selection of where the neighborhood watch is going to begin, we're going to select a block captain. And those block captains have those responsibilities. Next slide. So our next is area leaders, right? And areas leaders, the responsibility is for a specific area and will serve as the contact between police assigned to the program. They organize community meetings and explain the watch to residents. They help identify block captains and assistants. They provide information to the steering committee or police liaison to assist in defining block boundaries. They attend neighborhood watch seminars and workshops that may be conducted from time to time. And they maintain a liaison with the steering committee, police, to ensure the open line of communication between them and the watch participants. Next slide. So these are the watch members, and most of the people that want to participate in this program are going to be called watch members, right? So what does a watch member do? They identify criminal or suspicious activity. They report any suspicious activity to the police. They contact the block captains to inform them of the activity. And they inform the block captains or assistants when leaving on vacation or going out for dinner or doing something, right? And there's a number of crimes that I went on the Akwesasne Mohawk police system as examples that you can report, right? And there's probably a lot more than that, but I looked up a number of them. As most of you see in the community, we have issues with graffiti. There's a lot of graffiti now going up in the community. People are writing on walls and writing on buildings and stuff like that. Stuff like that can be reported. Violence, whether it's assaults, domestic violence, those things can be reported. Illegal dumping. We've had a number of illegal dumpings in our community as well. People just dumping garbage. Noise complaints. We tend to get a lot of calls on noise complaints. And after hour parties or late night parties, we've been getting a few calls on those. Suspicious activities, and like I said earlier, you know, you get those strange people driving up and down your road, you know, or you get those people that sit at the end of your road just sitting there in their vehicles. Suspicious activity. Dangerous driving, you know, and we get this a lot, and people call this in. The people that speed up and down our roads. Property crimes, you know, the people that go on your property and steal things. And drug trafficking. So those are just some of the things that's there that we can report. Next slide, please. So when you call to report a crime or an incident, The first thing the dispatcher is going to ask you is what happened, right? So you explain what happens. They're going to ask you when it happened, where it happened, if there was anyone injured. If there was a vehicle involved, they're going to ask you for if you were able to obtain the vehicle license number, a vehicle description, a direction of travel, and if there was any persons involved, they're going to ask you to describe the person, including clothing. So if you move to the next slide. So a lot of our dispatchers or even our police are going to ask you this. They're going to ask you approximate age of the individual, the race, if you know it, the sex, if you know it, the height and weight, and even if you've seen any tattoos or piercings. And if you look on the slide, there's probably a lot more things that they're going to ask you, types of clothing, hairstyle, did you see any tattoos? There's a lot of different things that that our dispatchers or even our police officers will ask you when you call. Next slide, please. Our next slide is going to deal with trust, and we want to bridge the gap now between the community and the police. So community policing is a philosophy that promotes organizational strategies which support the systematic use of partnerships and problem-solving techniques to proactively address the immediate conditions that give rise to public safety issues, such as crime, social disorder, and fear of crime. Community policing plays a vital role here with the Akwesasne Mohawk Police Service. The objective as our police service is to build a strong mutual trust between the police and the community that it serves. A goal of our police service is to build community partnerships with individuals and organizations they serve to develop solutions to a problem and increase the trust of our police service. Just recently, I know our police service just got a bunch of body cameras, and we had a video system in our cars, but now I think only a few of our officers wear body cameras, but we're pushing towards all of our officers getting body cameras. So I think that is going to build some trust within our police service as well. Next slide, please. So there's many different ways I'm reporting crimes, right? And Crime Stoppers is definitely a way that we tend to receive a lot of tips from Crime Stoppers. The good thing about Crime Stoppers is you can remain anonymous. They offer cash, they offer money, a monetary value for any information provided that leads to somebody, individual being arrested. The drawbacks with Crime Stoppers is sometimes we don't receive the information right away. Sometimes the information is delayed to 24 to 48 hours before we receive it. But Crime Stoppers is a good way of reporting. But if you need something immediately, for us, Crime Stoppers is not the way to do it. Next slide. The community of Akwesasne has their own Crime Stoppers tip line. It's 613-575-2250. You can call that at any time. I know there's other ways people have been reporting crimes to us. They have been reporting them through Facebook, which I don't believe that they should be doing, because our Facebook is not monitored 24 hours. And our Facebook is monitored sometimes by civilian staff as well. And we still get the people that report crimes through Facebook. And we go right on Facebook and we tell them to call the Akwesasne Mohawk Police. The other issue that we've been having is the 911. So if you can go to the next slide, please. So the other issue we've been having is people that call 911. And people have been always told to call 911. Unfortunately, in our area, it depends where you are. If you're on the island, if you call 911, it's going to go to the Cornwall police, right? Depending on the tower you hit. Because of our area and where we live, there's different towers. We have a US towers, we have Canadian towers. And it, depending on where you are, if you decide to call 911, that's where it's going to go. Most cases, if you're on the island, it's going to go to Cornwall police. And by the time it gets to us, you're looking at about a 5 to 10 minute delay. And it's the same as if you're on the American side, or if you catch an American tower, and if you try to call 911, it's going to go to Franklin County Dispatch. And the response time there is, again, 5 to 10 minutes before that call will actually get received to the Akwesasne Mohawk Police. So we encourage everyone to call our police service. The phone numbers are up there, 613-575-2340, or if it's an emergency, 613-575-2000. When this pandemic first started, I've had the opportunity, and I'm still working dispatch. I'm helping out our dispatchers. We have 6 dispatchers, and I can tell you they're very professional. I work with every single one of them over the past 8 months, and I can tell you, you know, they don't leave any stones unturned. They ask you all the questions that are necessary. And like I said, with this program, with this Neighborhood Watch program, it's just an outline. This program is an outline, as we talked about. Could things change here? Of course they can, right? As of right now, because we have to maintain our social distancing. We can't be in very many groups. I would like to change the name. I would like to redevelop our name. So I'm asking the community and whoever's out there to submit names that we can change. We don't have to call it a Neighborhood Watch. We can, and I don't really want to call it a Neighborhood Watch myself. I want to develop a program that's for us, for our community. And for those of you that are creative, eventually we're going to probably do a name change of this program. And we're probably going to do maybe a logo contest in the future. So right now, I'm asking the community if you can reach out to me, either my email address, norman.king@akwesasne.ca. You can reach out to me on our Akwesasne Mohawk Police Facebook page, or you can call me at the office. I'm usually there all week if I'm not dispatching. But send me your ideas. If we want to do a name change in this, it's like I said, I'm very excited. I'm ready to proceed with this program. I want to get this program out there to the community, and I want to start it as soon as possible. But in the meantime, because of the COVID restrictions, our hands are tied, and we are very restricted on doing things. But in the next month or two, like I said, I want to change the name of this program. And like I said, I think Connie agrees with me with that. But that's something I want to do. So if you have time, send me names. If you want to do an English name, if you want to do it in our Mohawk language, send me those names, and then we'll go from there. And like I said, once I get a bunch of names, we'll put it on Facebook, and we'll let you decide on what you want to call this program. All right, and from saying that, I want to ask you, is there any questions out there?
Okay, thank you, Norman. So those of you that may have questions for Norman on what he has presented, we'll take those now. Okay. Well, thank you very much, Norman, for the very good information that you've presented this evening on the Neighborhood Watch program. I think that the call out for changing the name is a great idea. I think if we could get some additional information on that, we can surely share that on our Facebook page. And if that what have you, that it comes to a new name, that would be great. But otherwise, I want to thank you for joining us this evening and sharing this important information. We look forward to hearing more about it as it rolls out. We'll continue to keep the community updated. So, we'll go for joining us. All right, so we're going to now proceed to our second presentation for this evening. Kylie Tarbell is here to present on the fiber optics project. I'll ask Chief Edward Rompoint if he could do a brief introduction, please.
Good evening, everyone. Tonight's presentation will be conducted by Kylie Tarbell, our Acting Director of Economic Development. And this project is to update the community on the fiber to the home project in the district of Snai. It's been a project and a long time coming for it to actually get this far, and we're all very excited to see it meet this great milestone. And as you'll see in the presentation, she's going to give a general overview of what will be taking place in the near future in regards to the construction activity that will be taking place. So at that point, I'll let Kylie take it from there. Kylie?
Thank you, Chief Nonpoint. Yep, so just to summarize, the following presentation is specifically for fiber to the home for the district of Snai. Next slide, Shannon. So just to give a project overview, MCA approved $3.7 million for the full implementation of fiber to the home for the district of Snai. Ontario East is the project management lead, along with my office, Economic Development, as well as Information Services. And I did see Rhonda on the Zoom call, so she's also here for backup for technical information. We're also currently working with Access to roll out a community training for the construction phase. So that way we can have community members receive fiber to the home training and then be placed directly onto the job site. The anticipated project timeline for Snai is 3 to 6 months for it to be fully operational, which means you will be able to have internet at home. So we are still looking at the other two districts of Ganadaga and Gawinoge. We're just waiting for final approvals. Next slide. So MCA will own and operate the fiber infrastructure. So just to kind of give a little more insight, we will be burying all of the fiber line. So it will not be going on poles. There will be a few poles installed at the bridges in Snai, but they will be independent poles from Hydro-Quebec. So again, the community will actually own all of the infrastructure, and we will not be reliant on an external service provider in regards to infrastructure. So the community will own everything. So just to give an idea, so the fiber line will be buried in conduits. So the entire backbone of Snai is 24,500 meters. That's approximately just under 16 miles. So that's just the backbone, which is the main roads, not actual connectivity to every single house. The fiber will be an open access with the internet service providers. So that means every individual household, businesses, they will be able to choose who they want as an ISP. And there will be, so part of the open access is they have to provide competitive pricing. So that's a benefit. The network being built is to support 1 gigabyte per household. That's the plan. We don't know yet. The data speed is yet to be determined until we start installing and running tests. Next slide. So, due to COVID and, the lack of broadband services for the district of Snai, there has been a lot of conversation with fiber optics, with wireless, with copper cables. So I just wanted to kind of provide some benefits of fiber optics compared to the other options. So fiber optics, it does have increased bandwidth compared to the traditional cables. There is faster speeds due to fiber having light transmitting the data. There's also less signal degradation. It can transmit signal in longer distances compared to copper cables. And of course, NI is our largest mass for land, so fiber is more feasible. Fiber is also more reliable. It's more weather resistant, and less moisture gets into the cabling, which would have any type of impact on any type of wiring. Also, fiber does not carry electric current, so there would be minimal interference for data transmission. In addition, to date, there has been no fire-related hazards with fiber optics compared to copper. It's less prone to damage and breakage once it's installed into the conduits. There is less flexibility to incorporate additional fiber lines for future expansion. So what that means is right now we're starting with a specific amount of strands to accommodate the district. So the number of residents, the anchor institutions. So in the event, people build more houses, if we expand into Dundee or other areas, it's easier to incorporate fiber into those conduits for expansion. In addition, fiber optics is a lower cost of maintenance compared to copper cables, because again, they're individual strands. So if there is a breakage, those fiber strands can be removed, replaced, spliced back together. Next slide. So our next steps for the project, we have to do a survey of the in-ground infrastructure that's currently in SNI. So for the Quebec portion is referred to as locates. In Ontario, it's referred to as one call. So we've already made contact. We just have to make sure with Hydro-Quebec, they don't have anything specifically buried. Same with Bell. So again, it's just some GIS information. At the same time, we are going to, so this is the fun part where we will be contacting every single resident, every single business, confirming their connectivity. This is very important because again, just the backbone alone is almost 16 miles. And you could possibly, almost double that if you look at, connecting from the main road to down everyone's driveway to their house. So if there's a private road, for example, and they don't want internet, then no fiber would be ran to that residence through that private drive. Because again, in order for us to connect to that last mile, fiber to the home, we have to have everyone's permission to access and run that fiber line. So this is a very important aspect of the project, and this is what we'll be working on. So very soon, the community members of SNI will be seeing some construction activity. We are going to be directional boring. So what that means is the type of construction that will be laying the actual backbone under the ground, but above the water line. So again, focusing on the main road areas. And actually, I have a video in the next slide that will show just to kind of give an overview of what that entails. And then again, then we will incorporate the last mile and connection to the home. Next slide. So this is a video, it's about 3 minutes long. Again, it's just to kind of show everyone what the construction would look like and how we're going to be doing this phase of it. It is environmentally friendly, and we have all of the high risk areas in mind.
Directional drilling is used to install conduits under obstacles such as roads, buildings, and wetlands. As demonstrated in this video, conduits such as water, sewer, fiber, electric, and gas can be installed under very busy intersections without disruption of traffic. A small area is needed to set up the directional drilling equipment. This area can be strategically placed away from congestion and business activities. Before the directional drilling begins, the directional drilling crew pre-plans the bore path to carefully avoid obstructions such as other underground utilities. The horizontal bore begins with the directional drill bit entering the entrance pit. The entrance pit is used to contain and manage the drilling fluids. The directional drilling crew are in radio communication with each other throughout the entire process. The directional drill bit is tracked by a sonde, our radio detection device, housed within its extended connection to the directional drill pipe. The depth and pitch is sent to the surface and received by the walkover locating device. The locator then gathers and interprets the information and gives directions to the directional drill operator on which way to steer the drill bit. An experienced directional drilling crew can navigate and steer the drill bit up, down, right, left, and a combination of varying degrees of each to drill a desired horizontal bore path. The drilling crew has the ability to determine the exact depth and location of the drill bit at all times. A typical mid-sized directional drill uses a 4-inch drill bit to drill a pilot bore. The bore path is typically enlarged to 1.5 size the conduit that is being installed. In this installation, the bore path has to be enlarged to accommodate the conduit, and a reamer is attached to cut a larger diameter hole. The reamer is simply pulled through the existing bore path to enlarge the hole. As depicted in this video, and as with most directional drilling projects, very little of the normal city activities were interrupted during the conduit installation. After the bore path is enlarged, the conduit is simply pulled into place by the directional drill rig. This method of installing utilities has many benefits that include less disruption of commercial activities, less disruption of traffic, less site rehabilitation, and directional drilling can also be used to avoid damage to wetlands, streams, and for river crossings. Directional Technologies has installed miles and miles of conduit using directional drilling over the past 23 years. Call us today to bring that level of experience to your next trenchless conduit installation.
Thank you, Shannon. So again, directional boring does have better, in regards to the environmental impacts, there's less risk. And we're also going on the same side of the road as the water line. So again, land has already been disturbed in that area. So if we would have done the opposite side of the road, then a full environmental assessment would have to be completed. So we've been working internally with infrastructure, water, information services. So we getting everybody on board to just kind of make sure everything goes very smoothly with the construction of SNI. So this is a very detailed technical map of what we're going to be doing. So I know it looks a little complicated. And Rhonda's here, so she can also help. So the big green circles that you see, those are the actual interconnection points. So at each one of those locations, that's where the larger fiber strands are going to connect and then disband out from there. I didn't include it in this presentation, but the connectivity points for SNI, we're actually going to be utilizing directional boring to cross over from SNI to St. Regis. So again, the community will be fully connected. We also intend on doing the directional boring through our kind of island hopping, so that way we do not leave our jurisdiction, and we will not even, we'll be going under the waterway, so we won't even be accessing the St. Lawrence River. So that's a bonus as well. So in regards to what I said earlier, we do have a couple areas identified where we'll be having independent polls. Because, for example, right now, just to request poll permits to hang anything on the current polls, it's about a 1 to 2 year waiting list just for a review. So that's not even approval. So that has a lot to do with why we're going under, burying the conduit, as well as the current polls that are in, well, throughout the entire community. They're at max weight capacity, so they couldn't even put our fiber line on there if we wanted to. So to save some money, instead of having to replace every single pole, we're going to bury. So yeah, so this is the high level technical map. You will see Ontario East out there. You'll see some MCA employees out there over the next few weeks. Everyone will be identified, so don't be scared. If you have any questions, of course, you can call the office if you want to confirm it is an employee, but we are going to make sure everyone is identified as part of the project. Next slide. So that is it. Are there any questions?
Okay, thank you very much, Kylie, for the overview of the fiber to the home project for the Akwesasne district. So, all right, if there's no questions for that presentation, we're going to move along then. Thank you very much, Kylie, for joining us this evening for that. We have an update from our committee that's been working on COVID care packages. So I will turn it over to a member of the committee. I believe there's a PowerPoint presentation for them as well. They will explain to the community what the COVID care packages are and what to expect. So.
Good evening. Good new evening, everyone. Too much turkey in my belly. Can't talk right. So I just wanted to talk to you a bit about these COVID packages that the community may have been hearing about, that we started to develop. About 6 weeks ago, a committee of council was started. And so Chief Vanessa, Chief April, Chief Carolyn, Chief Connie, and Chief Dooley Tim, we all were on this committee, and we decided that our goal was to figure out how we could get all the information that we needed to out to the community. And we began meeting via Zoom weekly and even twice a week to develop a packet of both information and supplies to get out to the community. Next slide, please. So why did we think we needed this? Well, we started to see that in the first wave of the pandemic, we fared pretty well. We had a number of 3, but as the second wave started, our numbers were doubling, tripling, and now we all know that we're at 31. So we needed to ensure, first of all, that all the information was getting out to the community, to each and every household, and that they're reading the information. That was one of our goals. The other thing was that we wanted to reiterate that we are all in this together. Everyone can help reduce our risk. Knowledge is power. We wanted to reiterate that, we need to continue wearing our masks, and why. We all need information and supplies to help us feel safe, and that the pandemic isn't over. And numbers in surrounding areas and communities continue to rise, and everyone is at risk. There's no one that is safe from this virus. Our hope is that this package will encourage us all and help us to provide tips and guidelines to help us all have a safe holiday season. And together we can all curb the spread of COVID-19. Next slide, please. So what's in the packages? We have signs for community households that indicate if an elder or someone at risk is in the home, and they can put that on their door. We have grocery shopping list in case somebody is having to quarantine and they need someone to go out and get their groceries so they can write everything down. Contact tracing sheet so that you can keep track of who you see in case you do get the virus. A screening tool sheet for when you're getting ready to go into any of our buildings or for an appointment. You can kind of go through the items yourself that you will also be asked when you go to enter any of our facilities. Information about isolation, quarantine, COVID-19 versus flu season, useful MCA department information, who's open, who's closed, and also emergency contact information, which we had made and put on magnets for your fridge so it's easy to access, and you're not fumbling through everything to try and figure out who to call in case of any kind of an emergency. Next slide, please. We also have some other useful information in the packages, items. We have a digital thermometer, disinfecting wipes, hand sanitizers, disposable masks, and we also included a 21 days of positivity. It's a self-care activities for families to use to stay healthy, happy, and safe and connected. We all know that this virus is, and this pandemic that we're in is exhausting. We're tired of it. We're sick of it. They call it the, I can't remember the name of it, but it's like we're just so tired of being in this pandemic. You're starting to let your guard down, and I think that's where a lot of our numbers come in. So we developed this 21 days of positivity that has different activities you can do with your family. It has a bunch of daily items to do to help keep your mental health as well as your physical health in check during this pandemic. And I believe we can go to the next slide, and Vanessa will take over.
Okay, so good evening, everyone. We're talking about delivery now, these packages. We will be utilizing AMBI school buses. Each package will be hand delivered by district chiefs in the coming weeks. We will be following all safety guidelines and utilizing PPE to ensure a zero contact delivery of packages to every household on the northern portion of Akwesasne. Council looks forward to providing you with these resources and wishes safety and health upon your entire family. We are all in this together. Big question is, what if you're not home? Keep in mind that the packages are one per household, and we will be keeping track of the households and addresses and leaving our contact information. If you didn't receive yours, call the contact number provided and we will get you your package. Next slide, please. Next. Did it go? Our Chiefs Committee and members would like to say Nyawankoa to the following: Samantha White, Kyra Chazi, Taylor Armstrong, Christy Lozon, Chelsea Francis, and the MCA Communications Unit for all of their help with this project. Please continue to be safe, take care of yourselves and each other. We will get through this together. Our contact information is on the next slide, please. Those are the chiefs on this committee. If you need to reach any one of us, it's Chief April Adams Phillips, Chief Vanessa Adams, Chief Tim Dooley Thompson, Chief Carolyn Francis, Chief Connie Lazor, and Chief Julie Phillips Jacobs. But all of the chiefs will be out delivering, and we'll be knocking on your door soon. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for the update on the COVID care packages that will be are being developed or have been developed and are going to be delivered to the community in the coming weeks. Are there any questions for this presentation? All right, thank you. So the next item, we'll just provide an update on the Christmas dinners. The last several years, we have hosted a turkey traditional meal in each of the districts. We've invited Santa Claus and provided a nice hot meal and gave away some wonderful door prizes. Unfortunately, after much back and forth on this, we had decided that we were going to go with a drive-through pickup for the meals. But unfortunately, due to the current rise in the cases in the community, we have determined that that is not a safe, viable option at this point. So the dinners will not be occurring this year. We do have another initiative that we will be rolling out as part of the care packages that will be coming in the coming weeks to the community that will hopefully assist community people and families for the holidays. So that's a bit of down news, as you know, that the COVID has really wreaked havoc on a lot of our social events that we would normally do, and the community dinners is one of them. But there is another initiative that we'll be rolling out in a couple of weeks that will be part of the care packages as the district chiefs deliver that in the next couple weeks. All right, so thank you to all of you for your presentations this evening. We have been encouraging over the last several months since we've started doing our general
No fiber optic in that building.
Grand Chief, we can't hear you.
Yeah, I sent him a text.
He left.
He left us hanging.
Anyone got the questions on hand? Questions and answers?
Is that what he was going to? Yeah.
Yeah.
I
I have them in front of me until he gets
Okay.
on. So there's a
Alrighty.
question. There's a question that says, can council provide a summary of the FAL date it was MCR date it was to be implemented? The AFL was enacted on August 24th, 2020 and accepted MCR 2019-2020 number 166. MCA strives to be completely compliant with the provisions of the AFAL, but the recent and ongoing pandemic has slowed the implementation, which will resume once the community is into normal operations. The second question was, as per FAL, council is supposed to do a call out for members of the finance committee. Has that started yet? The finance committee is currently determining the criteria that the community member needs to meet to sit as part of the committee. The call out should occur shortly after the new year. Third question. Who currently sits on the finance committee and who is considered the chairperson? Chief Edward Rompoint is chair. Chief Connie Lazore is co-chair. Chief Teresa Jacobs, Chief Julie Phillips Jacobs, Chief Daryl Lazore, Chief Toby Mitchell. Executive Director Heather Phillips, Director of Finance and Administration Robert Delarmier, Acting Comptroller Richard Fournier, Administrative Assistant Robin Lazore. Next question, has a terms of reference been completed for the Finance Committee? A draft terms of reference is completed, but recently, as council has been reviewing the roles and responsibilities of all their boards, committees, and commissions, it was thought that a terms of reference was a weak document for a committee of council. Instead of a plain terms of reference, a charter will be completed for the finance committee. Next question. How many other related bodies are there for Akwesasne? For example, corporations that Akwesasne has, and who sits on these corporations, and what are they for? There are two. The first one is Akwesasne Landholding Company, used to hold land acquired by MCA while they are in the additions to reserve process. And the second one, Akwesasne Harbor Development Corporation. This corporation is used as the company that holds 50% of the Cornwall Harbor. And Grand Chief is back and he can continue from there.
Thank you, Carolyn, and other members of council. Hopefully it doesn't happen again. Text me if it does. So the other question that we received was about members are identified as fund, a part of Division 1, Article 10 of the FAL talks about members are identifying all funds in which they have received, which is salary, benefits, travel, and plus payment for their cell phones, reimbursement of all expenses incurred, including credit cards, as well as says, when will the senior finance officer provide the members with this report? So just recently, the council accepted the annual report, the audit report of salaries and schedules and expenses. That is placed on our webpage now. It is under the news tab, and then it says audit. You can find that information posted on the website now. The other question that was asked, received is who is identified as a senior finance officer? So that's a position within the FAL. The Director of Finance Administration is identified as the senior finance officer. There is no definition as to what constitute extraordinary measures in the FAL. What needs clarification as per Part 4, Division 1, Section 30. Council should be publicized in presentations made to council. So the extraordinary expenses, meaning all expenses occurred outside of the extraordinary course of business, including without limitations, costs incurred in connection with any claim, litigation, arbitration, mediation, government investigation, or dispute, and amount of any judgment or settlement paid in connection therewith. So that is what extraordinary expenses are according to the FAL. Twice in the last month or two, the Grand Chief made a statement in his report that council has received a proposal to purchase land. Where are these funds set aside from for this type of expense? And if so, where do these funds come from, and how is the purchase price determined? So we, a number of years ago, set aside $2 million for land purchases. This money came from the Ontario Lottery Gaming, or the Casino Rama funding. It was set aside specifically for land purchases. The purchase price is determined by a number of factors, but not limited to the size, road access, terrain, appraisal, if available, and if there's any, and potential use. So the purchases are run through the property acquisition team, which is tasked with assessing property and providing a recommendation to council. With the cold weather setting in, what are the plans to accommodate members of Akwesasne in acquiring services at the health facility? Right now, members are required to wait outside. As you know, some may not have access to cell phone to call when arriving at the building. Cell phone signal is also sketchy at the location. I am sure this also goes for getting services at different locations within the MCA. So we're making plans right now to accommodate the community members inside of the buildings. As of starting next week, all services, if not most, will require an appointment to be able to come to the building. So there are accommodations being made for that. So as I mentioned before I was cut out, we encourage members to email questions ahead of time so that we can read them off. Simply, it's just easier to manage them on the system, but those are the questions that we had received. We do cut off receiving questions on Tuesday before the general meeting so that we can review them and get them all in order and report them back on Thursday. Sometimes we're getting questions right up until Thursday afternoon. There's a lot of preparation that's going on to accommodate the general meeting in the evening, so we can't always get to those questions. We cut them off on Tuesday and we'll report them at the following general meeting. So that's all I have for questions. I know that maybe there are some questions from members who are on the Zoom platform this evening, and I will ask if there are any questions from any members at this time. Okay. All right. I do have a resolution that I need to read for the record. The Mohawk Council of Akwesasne accepts and approves the general meeting minutes of October 29th, 2020. If I could have a mover to accept. Moved by Julie, second by Vanessa. Discussion on the resolution.
Question.
Question has been called on the resolution. All in favor, please raise your hand in front of your cameras. Any against the resolution? There is none against. The resolution is carried. So we won't be having a general meeting in the month of December, recognizing that it is the Christmas holidays, knowing that the holidays will be different this year because of the COVID-19 global pandemic that we're dealing with. But our next general meeting will be of January 28th. And we will again have that on the Zoom. We encourage you to please email your questions ahead of time so that we can ensure that we have adequate answers for you. We will roll out the agenda prior to a week, at least a week before the next general meeting. And at this time, unfortunately, because of our restrictions and gatherings, we are not hosting any district meetings. So with that, I want to say thank you to all of you for joining us this evening on behalf of myself and council. We really appreciate you joining us and listening in. Again, this evening's general meeting is being recorded. We will share it on social media within the coming days for those that may not have been able to join us or who had wanted to know more about some of the information we presented this evening. We will be rolling out a bit more information on the COVID packages to the community as we finalize the date. So please look out for information when they'll be receiving them at your front door. But I want to say, please continue to be safe and exercise all of the precautions. I know this is extremely difficult with the pandemic we're dealing with. Hopefully, as we close this year out and open 2021, that there will be the vaccines will be rolled out, and that our best efforts will make a difference in keeping ourselves safe. But in the meantime, I want to say thank you very much to all of you. Happy holidays. We won't be having a Christmas meeting before Christmas, but on behalf of myself and council, please keep well and have a good holiday in the next couple of weeks. So if I could have a motion to adjourn. Moved by Julie, second by Carolyn. All in favor? All right. Thank you very much to all of you and have a great evening.
Anna.